Hey, everybody, it's the Pearl of Wisdom Show. We are back again. Hey, thanks. Lauren's in the house. GoCap's in the house. Welcome to the live. Wow, we still got lots of stuff going on in the NHL, don't we? Woo! Tons of fun. Hey, Lauren. GoCap, she's still out there? Is McElrath okay? Why did Washington go up and pick McElrath up or Matt Irwin? They're like barely NHLers, pretty much. McElrath was picked high by the Rangers, long time ago, 2013, 14, I want to say, something like that. Never made it. The people kind of, maybe it was 2016. It was a bad draft, anyways. It was a head scratcher a bit. People said that he couldn't skate very well enough, and it's proved to be true. Couldn't skate well enough. Probably would have made it in the league. Like, oh, you got your car? Right on. Oh, sweet. Did you get it? That's what I did for mine. I just went to a whole bunch of dealerships, and while I was talking to one dealer, I called another dealer up and said, "Hey, this is the way it is. All right, this is what he's offering and stuff like that." Yeah, that's what I did too. So what do we have recently just happened? There was some stuff. Nothing too crazy. Detroit Red Wings acquire Mitchell Stevens. That was a nice little move. Oh, it works. That's the only way to do it, dude. You got to do it that way. Kyle, how you doing, man? Welcome to the live. Zach Werenski signs a long-term deal for basically the same price as Jones. He's better than Jones. So I'd say Columbus wins. Ding, ding, ding. Columbus wins. 9.5 for Werenski's better than Jones all day. He was their best defenseman the last 2-3 years. Everybody left. I guess you don't agree with me when I said that. Everybody left. I think they did a fantastic job signing him up for that. He's well worth that. One of the most underrated players in the league for sure. Lost in Columbus there. 6 years too. They didn't even have to go max on him. They went 6 years, 9.5. So good for him. Werenski's always been happy in Columbus. Never had a problem. Man, if I could get my hands on a Werenski, that'd be freaking awesome. How great has he been for that organization? Everybody leaves. Panarin, Jones, Dubois, everybody, and he's like, I like it. I have no problems here at all. Werenski is better than Jones. Absolutely no doubt about it. That he may get better in Chicago. He didn't work with Tortorella's style. Tortorella was trying to change him into something I think he's not. Jones is a high offensive guy. They tried to turn him into like a shutdown defenseman. He's just not that. He's never going to be that. So in Chicago, you look at the way Chicago plays, they play a high octane offensive. Hey, Sean, welcome to the live. Woo! Sean's in the house. Kyle's in the house. Lauren's in the house. Woo! Awesome. I think Jones will be better in Chicago. He's going to put up some good numbers there. Chicago doesn't play defense really. People don't realize that. Possibly the reason why Keith didn't put up very good defensive numbers there too. So we'll see how he does in Edmonton, but I think he will do better. But still, I gotta say, Werenski's the better defenseman, and he got signed for the exact same money as Jones. So win for Columbus, I would say. I just think they couldn't afford him, bud. It's hard. It's hard to trade a guy like Reaves. That was not an easy decision at all. But they're going after. I think they're going after Eichel. I think they're freeing up as much space as possible to go after Eichel. I really do. But that hurts. It really hurts. Reaves is like so hard of a guy. And there's so much value to Reaves that you don't see on the ice necessarily. Although I still think he's a great player for his size and what he does. And the New York Rangers, like, well, it goes back to the whole situation that happened with Panarin or with Wilson there. You know, Panarin felt like he had to jump on Wilson's back to defend Buchnevich. And a player like Panarin should never feel like that. By the way, it was a very brave move. And then everybody got mad because Wilson turned around and basically ragdolled him to the ground. And it's like, you don't jump, like, I don't know. Like, have these people not watched hockey before? If you jump on someone's back, they are going to beat you, okay? They're going to beat you. Simple as that. It doesn't matter who you are. It could be Sidney Crosby. It could be McDavid. McDavid jumps on somebody's back. They're going to turn around and beat the crap out of them. That's what's going to happen. So you don't want guys feeling like they have to do that. And now that they have Reaves there, they don't feel like they have to do that. If Wilson does something stupid, Reaves will go take care of it. Jones with his little brother, yeah. I don't know. I think he's going to fit in there. I don't know if he's going to have better defensive numbers, but he's going to have an opportunity to play the way Jones wants to play. And that's simple as that. Whether call that good or bad, whatever you want to call it, but at least he'll be more at ease and play the way he feels that he needs to play. Sort of like Lion A needs to do. Tampa Bay got who? Who will get Eichel? Right now, I think Vegas is the one that's going hardest for him. They're seeming to put a trade together that they don't even want the doctor bills. They don't even care what the doctor says right now. They got a package together because that's about the only way they're going to get him. Once it gets out like that they get all the doctor stuff in and teams start believing that he's going to be perfectly okay, the price is going to go up and Vegas isn't going to have the assets to be able to make the trade. So if they want him, they got to get him now because they don't have enough depth to beat out like the Rangers, Minnesota Wild, LA Kings, even, well, maybe the Anaheim Ducks, but not really. Yeah, absolutely. I love Reaves. I love Reaves. I think Reaves is underrated as a player too. He's getting a little older now, but when he was younger, the guy could play. Not too bad at all, considering his size and his role on the team. He was bad. Yeah, certain teams can't provide enough, but Vegas could do it now. They could take the risk. And they have shown that they're not afraid to take risks. So, if apparently what Buffalo wanted was Peyton Krebs, Smith, Haig, and a first. And Vegas balked at that. At first, anyways. They're thinking about it. I think they're thinking about it. But that trade of Reaves makes me think that they're trying to make some room for him. Or maybe they got another person in mind that they might go for. I wonder what happened with Reinhart, because a second and a goaltender, Levi, they should have been able to beat that out. They could have given a first, Krebs, and they could have had Reinhart. But the thing about Reinhart is, yeah, he's very good. Is he as good as Eichel? No. And he has a contract coming up. And his new contract probably is going to be $8 million a year, which is only $2 million under Eichel. But I think they could have had him, and I think he was enough. I don't know. Unless Buffalo is like so high on this Levi kid that was really the factor, because Levi did have an incredible World Junior Championships last year and has just gotten better and better. I'm sure the price is high. I'm sure the price is high for Bertuzzi right now. But what I don't understand, I don't know what the price would be, because I wouldn't want to pay too much for him, because he probably only wants to go to Toronto. Like, he's probably got a limited amount of teams that he's going to sign a long-term contract with. So Stevie Y is going to definitely, or Dubas is probably going to hold out, and there's got to be a player going back. And I don't know who the player would be going back in for Toronto, because they don't really have any players to go back, I don't think. I'd have to look that up. Rasmus Sandin, but he doesn't have any term, man. And they can't afford to lose a defenseman like that, I don't think, even for a guy like Bertuzzi. Like, they need to go dollar for dollar on the trade. So, let me look up Toronto here. We talk about Toronto a lot because of Weichel, but just they're one of the most fascinating teams out there, really. To see a team be top heavy like this. Kerfoot, maybe? They're probably offering Kerfoot, Dermott, and because you got to sign Bertuzzi. He's going to need to be signed too, right? Next year they got Mikheyev coming off the books. Yeah, they might be able to. You're going to make me work here, buddy. Straight across, yeah, they can't. They can't give him just Sandin. They can't. They can't do that. I mean, they can't do it financially. They can't do it. So, let alone, they can't afford to lose. He's too valuable to them. He's too valuable to them. Because they need D so bad, like, they cannot afford to give Sandin up. Where did you hear that, by the way? Teams. Detroit Red Wings. Bertuzzi. Tyler Bertuzzi. Yeah, he's a restricted free agent right now. Oh, boy. I wonder what he's asking for. He had 48 points last year. I think Bertuzzi's going to get at least $3.5 million. So you think they should have took the offer of Krebs, Clegg, and Smith in the first? I think, well, I mean, if they're going to gamble, they might as well. If they're going to gamble that he's going to be okay afterwards, that deal's not bad. Like, If they hit, if he's fine, that deal's going to look horrid for Buffalo. I like Krebs a lot, but yeah, that's if he turns out to be healthy, that deal's going to look horrible for Buffalo. And I'd say right now it's about 80, 85%, maybe even higher than that he's going to be healthy. So I think the problem, of course, is they do got to make the playoffs next year. And Eichel's going to be off the books for a while. I don't know how long it's going to take him to come back. Are the Leafs better or? No, I think they're going to hold on to him. I don't know. I don't even know if that was actually a deal that they offered. I've just heard that from a few places. Like if I'm there, I'm sitting on Eichel. I don't care what you got to say. I'm sitting on Eichel until somebody gives me like some serious return. But that being said, you have an owner. That's the problem. You have an owner that's saying, I don't want this drama anymore. Get rid of them, blah, 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 blah. You know, the Buffalo ownership is absolutely horrible. I wouldn't doubt that they're going to make the mistake of freaking trading them now for a package like that. And then, honestly, they're in trouble. Peyton Krebs better knock it out of the park. I think he's probably a good, second line center or something, a second line winger or something like that. But Smith to Smith, he's not going to get any better than he is. He's a great two-way player. He'll put up 50 points, and then they got to. Yeah, I think if it was up to Adams, they would sit on him for the whole time if it was up to him. But I think if it's up to ownership, they're gonna tell him to do something stupid, and he's gonna end up having to trade him away. And that would be like many of the other ownership moves that have happened there, like the O'Reilly situation, taking. And many of the general manager choices that they've made and all that kind of stuff like that, like the knee-jerk reaction type stuff, I don't believe came from the general managers for the most part. Although their first general manager, I always forget his name, Simpson or whatever his name was, he was terrible. Botterill, it looks like he's going to be a good general manager someday, but he was just pretty young, pretty green to bring into that situation. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. We don't know. I haven't heard anything about him wanting out. But, if I'm Rasmus Dahlin, like, he defensively, his metrics last year were pretty brutal. I think you got to look around you and go, like, I wasn't developed very well. Do I want to continue here? I think they got to overpay for Dahlin to stay there. They got to overpay for him. And then they hope that they have their new development team will be able to help him become better. Like, talk about drop the ball. Dahlin, when he came into the league, was getting compared to Hedman. And you can say, well, it's all Dahlin's fault, but you can't mess up on so many players. Middlestat. Watch Reinhart go off in Florida, man. Watch Reinhart go off in Florida. It's going to be sick how good he is. And, like he did well to do what he did, but in Buffalo, but they just have a terrible development system there, especially for defensemen. He's got to play till he's 40 and put up similar numbers to get it. So I think he has a chance if he wants it. I have a feeling that Ovechkin will go back to Russia before he ever gets it. That's my gut feeling. Sabres have to qualify offer Dahlin. Yeah, I mean, if he signs a qualifying offer, which he pretty much has to, but you got to look at it from the perspective of if he's only going to sign a qualifying offer, isn't he like 25 now? I guess, I mean, you could sign the qualifying offer and say, and really show him that the organization is changing, and then maybe he signs a long-term deal. How old is he? Oh, shit. He's only 21 years old yet. Jeez. Oh, yeah. You got to sign him to a bridge. Can't trade him now. I suppose if he's screaming he wants to get traded, I guess you have to, but he's 21 years old. Like, he's still got a lot of upside there. They got they have a new development team and everything like that. Like, I didn't realize he was that young. I don't know why. Feels like he's been in the league for a long time. Yeah, well, nobody wants Logan Brown. Logan Brown is a big guy who plays soft as hell. Very disappointing that he didn't produce more than he did. Like right now, his trajectory is not to be an NHLer, so he's got a long way to go. And not only that, he wants out of Ottawa. Well, he had plenty of time. Like, they had plenty of spots for him. It's not like he was buried in a lineup or something. He didn't make it in Ottawa. So anybody out there is just going to, take a flyer on him. Whatever he has to change there, he's got to get his agent to call around and be honest with yourself and say, I need to get better at this. What organization is going to be able to best help me become better at what I'm weak at so I can be an NHLer? That's the only. And you got to say that Ottawa is not that. Ottawa seems to have a pretty killer development system there. They bring up a lot of guys, so. He could have been. He's still got a lot of chance. He's got a lot of room to grow, Dahlin. It's just a question is Buffalo the place to do it? Like, if I'm him, I'm kind of looking around going, Middlestat didn't make it. They brought in Tage Thompson, and it's not that he didn't make it, but he struggled hard. Tage Thompson struggled hard there. Ristolainen was like never really developed the way people expected him to. Like, you got to look around and go, is this the best place for me to develop as a player? And Buffalo has to basically convince him that he is. I don't know. I'm not a stats guy. Look it up. Go Caps. How close is he? You're the Capitals fan. Dylan Cousins is solid. Let's hope they don't ruin him too. Like, I don't think he should be playing in the NHL yet. See, Buffalo was in a really tough spot in a sense because of their own stupidity. It kind of snowballs. They were so bad as an organization, had such a poor reputation, they couldn't get free agents to go there. So they had to play these kids in spots where they shouldn't be playing them because nobody would go there to fill the spot that the kid had to play, you see. So it was a terrible combination. And now you just got to, I don't care, you just take an AHL player and put him in there. Don't let that kid play. That's what the Detroit Red Wings did. They won't let their kid play. They don't care. They'll put an AHLer. If we lose that year, that's fine. We're not going to ruin an asset by playing him in the NHL too early, or we're never going to go anywhere. And Buffalo has to learn to do that. Is Matt Irwin good? Not really. Well, let's put it this way. Matt Irwin was on the Buffalo Sabres, I believe, last year and barely played. So that should tell you everything you need to know about Matt Irwin. Uh, can he? I don't know. I'll never say that McDavid can't do something. Uh, I mean, Gretzky had a 192 point season. Gretzky had, think about that. Gretzky had 30% of McDavid's points in one season. Is that over 30? About 30 some, 33, 34%, something like that. So, but I think McDavid will get 150 or more to this season. So that'll bring him up to 650 or more. Who knows? I mean, McDavid is incredible. It's just a different era. It would be amazing to do that in this era. Let's put it that way. He would definitely, well, he would for sure go down as the greatest of all time if he were to do that. But in this era, it's much harder to get points than it was in Gretzky's era. So it would be an amazing accomplishment for sure. Ah, 1,500, yeah. Yeah, 1,500. Unless he doesn't, as long as he doesn't get injured, 1,500 should be achievable for sure. I would have to think. Uh, Harder to get points now. Um, is the game? The game was more. How do I explain it? The game was. The goaltenders were not as good then, and the defensive systems were not as good then. There's a lot more attention to defense now than there was then, and goaltenders were nowhere near as good then. The game was more physical, yeah, but the stars generally didn't take as much punishment. Back then, if you did a lot of the stuff they do today to McDavid and stuff like that, they would beat you silly. Now, later on, Gretzky did play a short time in what was called the clutch and grab era. That was right after expansion, where Bettman basically told referees, Anaheim and those guys never would have made it if they didn't allow more clutching and grabbing, because they wouldn't have been able to keep up. They had terrible teams. So in order to save those franchises, basically Bettman told the referees to allow clutching and grabbing a lot more. And it was terrible for guys like Mario Lemieux. Mario Lemieux might have been able to do something with Gretzky's records if he would have played more in Gretzky's era. But back in the early 80s, it was a much more free-flowing game. There wasn't like the goal was to go out and score, not to play like a 1-1-3 defense and trap and all that kind of stuff like that. That all came more later. There wasn't really trapping teams back then. Dylan McIlrath couldn't make Detroit Red Wings defense. I think he played like a little bit last year at the end. So I'd say no, he's not good. Yeah, that's why basically. And like after once Patrick Waugh, guys like that started coming in and the butterflies started coming in, the equipment got bigger and better. The goaltending is so. If you look at any of those old games in the 80s, you see the goaltenders, they do the stand-up style. they stack pads and they don't cover anywhere near as much as the net as they did in the early 90s. So it gave guys like Gretzky quite the ability to be able to just pot. Like a lot of Gretzky's top corner shots then would have been stopped now. There was it was more physical, but there was a lot of defensemen that couldn't skate. Like they were guys like Tenorti and I could probably list a whole bunch of them that if they played today, they never would have made it. No way. They couldn't skate fast enough to make it. So guys like Gretzky could do like circles around those guys, man. Sure, if they ever caught Gretzky, they would be able to, hurt him or whatever. And I mean, if they caught people in the corner, they slammed them pretty good. It was tough around the front of the net for sure. But guys like Gretzky and even Yzerman, all those 80s guys that got a lot of points, Marcel Dion, Denis Savard, they did circles around those guys. Oh yeah, Gretzky was amazing. I'm sure Gretzky would still be amazing today. He just would have had to have done it in a different way. Like, Gretzky would have been amazing today, but he would have been in better shape. He would have been more, he would have adjusted to the way things are now. How many points would he put up? Wayne Gretzky himself says he could have never put up those points if he played today. He said it himself. And I believe he's right. People think he's just being humble, but Gretzky, he's humble, but he's realistic at the same time. I've met Gretzky. I had beer with Gretzky before. He used to go to a place that my dad used to go to here every once in a while, and I didn't really have a sit down conversation with him, but I listened to him talk to people. And I was really young at the time. And he was humble, but I mean, he was honest. I think the most humble people are still honest. I don't think it's very humble to say, oh, I'm not that great when you're amazing, right? Like, he knows that he was blessed with some of the best hockey talent, or maybe the best hockey talent ever. He knows that. He doesn't try to play it off like it's not there. As they were, as the team as they were, the way they were built, and a team now, any team now would destroy any team then. With the equipment that they're wearing and everything, any team now would destroy it. It wouldn't matter. Anaheim Ducks could beat the Edmonton Oilers back then. For sure. First of all, the Edmonton Oilers players would all be hurt because their padding sucked. These guys are way faster than they were. Their skates are way better. You're talking about if they wore the same equipment that they wore then compared to now. I think an AHL team could beat those teams back then. Guys asking for a lot of money. Casey Cizikas is holding out for a lot of money, sort of like what Anderson did. He wants his type of player that he is to be paid. He's doing it for the future of players like him. Top line, really, he's a third line center that's been playing on the fourth line and never complained about it. So he's out there going, look, I could have been a third line center. I could have been one of the best third line centers in the league. A third line center now is going for about $4.5 million, something like that puts up points. And I was such a team player. I played on a fourth line with Clutterbuck and Martin. What kind of points are you going to put up there? Because I wanted to do what was right for the team. But I don't want to be, but I shouldn't be penalized financially for that. And I kind of agree with this point. So a team can say, well, you're a fourth line player. And he's like, no, I'm not. I played on the fourth line because I'm a team player. That's what guys are going to be making that do what he does down the road here, Lauren. People are finding there's so much need for depth in a roster right now. You're going to see things changing quite a bit. Like you look at for teams are like sheep, and they see what's going on in Toronto, and they don't want any part of that. So they see what's going on with the Islanders, where they have one of the best fourth lines in the league, and they do everything out of depth through their roster, and they're like it seems more sustainable to them. Tampa Bay, I mean, that's really rare that you can get all that talent with no money. And eventually it's going to start chewing up on them here soon. They just signed Point to a nice 9.5, but it's starting to get to a point where they're getting in cap troubles, right? What are you talking about? Yeah, the Ducks could beat the early 80s Oilers if the Oilers are wearing the equipment they were wearing then, and the Ducks are wearing the equipment they are now, and the Oilers have the same conditioning, and the Ducks have the same conditioning as now. The Oilers back then were poor conditioned athletes, man, compared to now. They didn't have the wind that they do now. They're out of breath a lot. Like, they couldn't skate with the Anaheim Ducks at all. Watch those old 80s games, man. They couldn't skate worth a crap. In a league where Mark Tenorti and those guys can play in, Mark Tenorti would never play an NHL game today. Never. His son almost never played an NHL game. He had to totally redo his whole way of thinking and work his butt off to get his skating anywhere near level to be a seventh guy. If his son played back then, his son would have been just like his father. Tenorti would have played top 4 minutes back then. Easy. Maybe even a 1-2. He would have been just like his father. He can't even barely makes the league now. Barely makes the league. And if he wouldn't have changed his thinking and became more like today's player, he never would have made it. He worked his ass off. I love Tenorti. I love what he did. Like those goons that you had back then, as much as we loved to watch them, wouldn't have played, wouldn't even come close. They wouldn't even be AHL players today. They would have been like Link Gates and guys like that. They never would have even come close to the league right now. It would have been a disgrace to watch them on the ice. So, yeah, I think the Ducks could beat the Oilers of those days. Like I said, assuming that they're wearing the same equipment, they're the same conditioning, they're the same everything. They were poor conditioned athletes. They used to drink beer after games. A lot of the guys smoked cigarettes back then. They didn't have a diet. They just ate whatever the hell they wanted. Most, if McSorley couldn't catch anybody, what's McSorley going to do? Seriously. McSorley would look like... McSorley could barely keep up to Lucic now. He was a terrible skater. Who's he going to hit? He can't catch anybody. Frickin' Raquel would do circles around McSorley. Like, McSorley would be like a pretzel lying on the ice if he was wearing the same skates and the same conditioning and the same everything. McSorley would drink 3-4 times a week when he was in Edmonton. He went to a place called David's, And him and not Charlie Huddy, but Semenko had a place with their name on it. It actually had a plate with their name on it. And they thought, well, because they're NHL players. No, they drank so much. Those guys would drink like 48 beer and play the next night. Hit them with the stick in the head. Yeah. Yeah. Now, okay, if you took the talent back then and you gave them the conditioning and everything that they have now with the equipment they have now, the Edmonton Oilers would absolutely destroy destroy them. The Edmonton Oilers would destroy anybody in the league right now. Anybody. I still think the Canes are going to be okay next year. I think they're going to be okay. Except for Anderson. That's the big thing. If Anderson is healthy, they'll be okay. Their defensive system will make them look good. If their defensive system can make Mrazek look like he has some decent numbers, if Anderson is anywhere near as good as he used to be, they'll make him look like he has good numbers too. So, somebody's freaking car horn's going off there. It's driving me crazy. Can you guys hear that? Yeah, you guys can hear that, can't you? Jeez. It's right outside our door, too. Crazy. Somebody better shut that bloody thing off. Do we get any more stuff coming in here? Some more fun stuff? Oh, the Nashville Predators signed Jeannot. What did they sign him for? Two-year contract, that's a good price. $800K paying Jeannot, $700K in 2021 and $850K in 2022-23. That's not bad. Well, they've got a salary structure there in Carolina, and they're just sticking to it. They're not going to go away from it. So they're going to build a team that everybody wants to be there, for one thing. Everybody's going to want to be there. Finally, the horn shut off. And they're going to be so happy to be there that they're willing to take less. That's really what he's doing. And they're going to build a team much like the Islanders. What I'm afraid of is what are they going to do with Svechnikov here? You got to pay Svech. Like, this would be the time to lock him up for $8 million a year. Right now. Lock him up for Reinhardt money or something like that. $8 million a year right now. If you could get him for $8. If I'm Svechnikov, I'm not signing that. But yeah, Nietzsche's is going to put up some huge numbers this year, I think. Depends about anywhere between 2 and 5 years, Sean. Even if it's a top 10. The first 3 guys, sometimes a year, maybe none. And that really depends. But most take 2 years to 3 years, somewhere around there, to play in junior, then come up in the minors, play in the minors, and then play. Some of them take a little longer, 4 or 5 years. Defensemen take longer than forwards. So a defenseman can usually takes about 4 to 5 years. That's the reason why Carolina doesn't like to draft defensemen in the first round, because they're using up a whole lot of their entry-level contract playing in the minors and not playing in the league. So they'll try to catch them. They'll try to catch them in the second round, third round, where they're going to take just about the same amount of time anyways. Beniers in Seattle. Well, we'll see how good he did. The thing about Beniers is he's progressed way faster than they ever expected all through his career so far. He played for the World Juniors when nobody expected him to play for the World Juniors in the World Juniors. He's going to go back to college, yeah, for sure. So how good he does in college and how much he progresses physically and all that will depend on when he comes in. I know Ron Francis is not a guy to rush anything. So they'll err on the side of caution. They'll err on the side of caution for sure. (2022-23), yeah. Probably. Somewhere around there. And it could be later, yeah. Ron Francis won't rush any prospect. If he has any inkling that he's not ready, he'll leave him there. So we'll see what his numbers are when he gets into college next year. He was a point per game player this year. You want to see him get about, like in college, a point per game is pretty good for his age. So you want to see him get about like 1 point. If he can get 1.5 points per game, and he's already solid defensively, that could put him on a trajectory to get a pretty good shot next year. We'll see. He may go in the minors for the first bit, and then they'll let him. The best way I think that is to do it is to make it so a guy can dominate each league before you bring him up. Yeah. The best thing I think to do is to put him in each league and get him to the point where he's dominating that league before you bring him up. If Beniers is getting 1.5 points next year, that's dominating that league pretty good. So if he decides he can quit pro, he can go pro and stop in college. And if he goes in the AHL, the magic number for offensive players has got to be a point a game. Or he's on it. Sometimes there's players that actually get more points in the NHL than they do in the AHL because they need to play with good players to play well. They don't drive a line. And Foligno could be that because he's probably not going to drive a line in the NHL. He's more of a very, very good complementary forward that'll put up like 60 points a season, somewhere around there. But you never know. He could progress a lot further than people think. That Michigan team is loaded, so that his numbers could be very good there too. That has to be taken into consideration. How good was the team around him? But yeah, he's going to be playing with power, right? So that's going to be one stacked Michigan team for sure. No doubt about that. Welcome. Hey, CL's in the house. Welcome, CL. Thanks for coming in, buddy. We were just talking. We had a really cool conversation going about, what would the Edmonton Oilers do with all the equipment they were wearing back then and the conditioning they had. Who would they be able to beat now? And I don't think it would be anybody, but. Yeah, lots of college teams are really good. That's true, yeah. It's going to be a stacked college team, but there's a lot of stacked college teams. Boston's going to be stacked. There's a lot of Minnesota has always got a stacked team, so there's the competition is pretty fierce in college. That's why players generally, like, a point a game in college is so good. Yeah, between periods. Yeah, Guy Lafleur. Guy Lafleur used to be a chain smoker. He would, in between periods, he would throw off his skates, and he would smoke like 3-4 smokes. And all the people in the room are taking in that cigarette smoke and stuff like that. Like, it was a crazy time. A lot of guys would have like 2 beer in between each period. By the time the game is over, they have a half sack already. How much influence do NHL franchises have? I bet you a lot more than you think. I think a lot. I think it's not as much as in junior, though. That's the thing. It's not as much as in junior, but they've got a pretty strong working relationship because for the college, if one of their players go to the NHL, that's huge for the college, right? So, and you've got a player that's drafted, that team that's going to play him in the NHL has got a lot of clout on how you develop him or how much ice time he gets. Like, if you're not giving a guy a lot of ice time, you better have a good damn reason why you're not giving him a lot of ice time and have a good working relationship with the ownership and managers of the team that owns his rights, because that's very concerning. But they would never do that. They want Beniers to play as much as they possibly can. They would never say don't play him more than a certain amount of time. They want him on the ice as much as possible. It's going to be tight, John. We'll see what some of these guys they plucked off the scrap heap end up being like. Matt Reed. Oh, there's a good one. Matt Reed. And he played for Philly too. So, Bemidji, what's Bemidji State? What is that? I never even heard of that before. Yeah, well, yeah. They definitely, it's everything to franchise. It's everything to universities and colleges to have their players hit the bigs. No doubt about that. No, no. He's got to learn how to play a lot of minutes. These kids got to learn how to play a lot of minutes. They're going to have to play a lot of minutes, so they need them to play them a lot of minutes. The more minutes you play, the more experience you have. The more minutes you play, the more important places you're being played in the lineup. The more times, yeah, they want him to play as much as possible. They're not worried about him getting injured. You just can't worry about that. You can't worry about a player getting injured. It happens. It happens. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't. Yeah. That's on the last thing on the. That's not even on the mind of teams like that. You come in, a player comes into the NHL. He better be used to having a hurt body. because your body's going to hurt every day. So, yeah, it's simple as that. You're going to have a hurt body. There are really talented players that don't make it in the NHL. They have to go to the KHL because they can't handle the pain. The NHL, you got to have a crazy pain threshold to play in the NHL. So if you can't handle the pain in college, you're not going to handle it in the NHL. Simple as that. No use even going there. So you got to play a lot. You got to be well conditioned. They want as many minutes as possible and playing in the toughest places possible because you got to get used to it. And once you get out of college, the jump to the NHL, like, it is huge. It's an eye opener for kids coming out of junior in college to go into the NHL and the abuse you take in the NHL and the speed and everything. Like, college is nothing compared to the NHL, nothing. So they got to learn how to play a lot of minutes, play hard for a lot of minutes, and everything you can do in college doesn't completely prepare you for the NHL. So they try to have them be as prepared as possible. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, Liljegren has not looked good so far. He's going to have to improve a lot to be an NHL player. So I don't know if he's ever going to make it. But if he does make it, a lot of it's going to have to do with the fact that the Leafs are that bad on defense. Go read what you said. Oh, they might hate to say it, but they're transferring their ice to smaller ice for a reason. They're never going to compete with the NHL. Never. Never in a million years. The KHL going to compete with the NHL. They got to change their whole philosophy to compete with the NHL. Maybe they will. I don't know. But there's a reason why players that are very skilled and can go there and get a point a game can play in the KHL and they can't in the NHL. And that's because the pain. They can't handle the pain. They can't handle the pain in the NHL. They got the talent, but they can't handle the pain. Nick Robertson's going to get all the chance in the world to play for the Leafs next year. I don't know. They have a salary cap in a way because they've only got like 3 teams that can afford players. So they kind of have a salary cap. The disparity of talent in the KHL is ridiculous. Is Krejci leaving for sure? What the heck? When you saw the Foligno deal, I was wondering if they were going to go with Foligno as their second line center. I don't think that's wise. I don't think that's wise. They can make it to the NHL they can make it to the playoffs with him though, and then he'll be great in the playoffs. It's risky. It's risky. Foligno's not really a second line center anymore. He's not a second line center anymore. Is he going back to Czech? Really? He's not even going to play in the league? He's going back to Czech? Where did you hear this? Wow. Crazy. I didn't hear about this. Where did you hear about this? I should know CL. CL's got it all figured out. I see that, Lauren, but you're never going to convince me. I know players that I know players that like players try to make it here and they can't, and they go there and get a point a game. Why? They can't get a point a game here, but they can get a point a game there. Why? I know why. Well, they don't really send them to the college. Now, there's a thing, Sean. They don't really send them to a college. Colleges get players before they get drafted. Colleges sign players before they get drafted. So they have a tendency, like some teams are starting to draft a lot from the same colleges. Like Ottawa drafts from North Dakota quite a bit because they want their players to know each other. But young players, they figure out what college they're going to go to before they know they're even drafted. So they don't even know where they're going to be on the board. Unless it's like, maybe if it's a guy that's a for sure number one or top three, teams that may be going to be in there to pick him could like chew his ear and say, we think it would be a really good idea if you went to this college or that college or whatever the case may be. And then sometimes, you know, you can get an idea of where a player wants to go by which college they go to. And that can be sometimes why a team doesn't draft him. Because he's like, well, if he chose that college to go to, and he could have chose a college that we like to see our players go to, and he chose to go to another one, maybe we don't want that player. And maybe that player is sending a message that he wouldn't be too happy going to your team. So that kind of sort of thing happens for sure. I think the Boston Bruins will make the playoffs next year. Yeah, I'd have to say yes. Yes, they will. And I think that's why if they're not going to sign Krejci, they could probably make it with Foligno as their second line center. But I don't know if Foligno's going to have the same. I mean, Foligno can't keep up with Hall. Foligno can't keep up with Hall. Krejci can keep up with Hall. Foligno doesn't have the same hands as Krejci. Hall's numbers are probably going to drop a bit next year. It's a good thing that he signed the long contract that he did because he probably isn't going to get the same numbers. But they probably still will make the playoffs. Yeah, I would say so. I would think so for sure. Yeah. What do we got here, Boston? Yeah, they got Coyle. They got Foligno playing the wing. He is a better winger, actually. So they would play with Smith. Taylor Hall's more of a passer, though, too, than he is a shooter. I don't know. I just don't think that's the best line for Taylor Hall, but we'll have to see. But where did you hear this, CO? Tampa Bay got a bit worse, but I don't think it's bad enough that it can stop them from being a contender. Especially since they picked up Perry and what's his name? Why do I always forget that guy's name? Bellemare. Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. Those are nice pickups right there. Oh, shoot. I got to go do the... I got to go from a word from our sponsor here right away. You got it from The Athletic. Okay. So what did they say? They said that he could possibly be going, or did they say he's for sure going to check? Because it sounds like to me, if you're asking me, I would say that's a contract negotiation strategy. Yeah, they picked up Bellemare and Perry. That probably gets the same kind of character that they had in Goudreau and Coleman. Maybe not the same on-ice performance, but Bellemare's not that bad. So I think it's good enough. I think that's good enough. Anyways, I got to take a word from our sponsor, but I think it's a contract negotiation tactic, CL. That's my lean on that. But I'll be back in a couple minutes, guys. Stick around. Stick around.
Greetings. This is Steel Flyers from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. They've taken care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. Both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God.
Hello, everybody. We are back. Okay, what do we got here? Cold Caps is back. Wow. Well, I mean, that could be a negotiation tactic, maybe, but especially if they're not offering them all that much money, for sure. We back, yeah. Especially if they're not offering them all that much money, it could be just like if nobody's out. I don't see why anybody wouldn't be offering them a lot of money. If he had to move to Columbus or something like that, he's made a lot of money already. Maybe he just doesn't want to move his family anywhere else. If he moves, he's going to Czech Republic and he'll leave the money here. Maybe. It smells like a negotiation tactic to me, though. We'll see, but that would be my guess. Yeah, I would say that's a negotiation card. Now, if Boston can't sign Krejci, don't you agree that they got to get another center? And I don't know where there's another center out there. They got to find a home for DeBrusque because he's not going to be. He can't play there next year. There's no way DeBrusque can play there next year. That would be terrible. Like after everything that's gone on there, they got to cut. I don't know who's going to pick him up, and I don't know what the problem is there, but Boston has historically given up on young players and they turn out okay. If I'm somebody like Detroit or something like that, I'm probably taking a look at DeBrusque. I don't know. Maybe it's what he's asking too. I don't know, but they need another center. If I don't think that you want to go in with Foligno as your second line center there. I think ultimately you'd want him to be a winger. Yeah, I mean, he's had some bad years there. But I'll tell you, Monahan might play better with Hall, maybe. Isn't his contract coming up right away too, though? Monahan? What are you going to give up for him? Calgary's going to need a center. Calgary might be stupid enough to take DeBrusque, I guess. But they still need a center. He's getting 6-3 for the next 2 years. It's a bit of a gamble. Monahan has put up some pretty poopty numbers the last couple. Like, it's been downhill for the last few years for them. Last year, he was on, 45-point pace. The year before, he had 48 points. And then 2019, he had 82. Yeah, you could get him probably for DeBrusque in a pick or something like that, but I don't know if Calgary would want to do that. They got nobody else to play center either. I don't know where Calgary's going. They're not rebuilding. They're not, I don't know. Who knows with that team? You might be able to do something there. He's terrible defensively lately. He hasn't put up good points in a while. That could all change in Boston, though. I mean, it's been a pretty weird atmosphere there. It looks like they're trying to get players with a very high compete level and to give these guys like Monahan and Gaudreau a lift that there's somebody got their back besides Matthew Tkachuk. It looks like they're trying to go with what they got, and Sutter thinks that if you bring in some guys to help with the compete level and energy on that team, that they'll get better. That's what it looks like they're doing there. So I don't even know if Monahan's really on the table all that much right now like I used to. But there's besides Monahan, there's not much for centers out there. Free agency, there's nothing. Nothing that you could call a second line center out there. Yeah, it was a good pickup by the Rangers there. Third round pick's pretty steep, but the value of guys like Reaves, like they don't like, Vegas didn't like having to give them up. I don't know what they're up to, but they're getting rid of a fair amount. Like they even got rid of Bellemare. I don't know who they're going to put in there instead of Bellemare, but they're looking for some cheap bottom players. I really think they're trying to make up as much room as possible to get Eichel. That's what it looks like to me, or at least another center. But what center? Krejci? The AHL, yeah. Besides that, ECHL and what's SPHL? Those are like the second league, yeah. It was a good pickup by the Rangers, I think. I like what they did. Buchnevich he's almost a point-a-game guy. It's hard to give that guy up for Blais in a second. But I think they had a limited amount of teams they could trade him to. Because that's one of the cases where there's only certain teams he's going to sign with and who's going to be able to fit him under the cap. So that's why so to get Blais back, I like Blais a lot. I think Blais is going to work really well for that team. And you're building a team, so. Krejci gave Nolan Patrick his first fight. Oh, first fight. I thought he said first night there for a second. That's funny. Yeah, that's gonna be a tough team now. They got Blais, they got Gaudreau, they got Reaves. No more Wilson nonsense now. No more Wilson nonsense now. I can't wait to see that first game between Washington and the Rangers, man. That's gonna rock. Yeah, it might not. Nothing might happen. It's hard to say. I'll tell you, Wilson won't be rabbit punching players on their back now. Reaves and Wilson, man, I want to see that. I want to see that go. For sure. That'll be freaking awesome. I remember Wilson got so much trouble for that. Like, I heard the Rangers, people are wondering why Davidson and Gorton got fired. It all makes sense now. That pretty much happened after that. When, I don't know if they told the owner that they were going to do what they do, and they wrote this whole thing to the league about, Wilson not getting enough of a suspension and all that stuff like that. But I think the owner went, what? What are you talking about? Forget about that. Who do we have? You had to put poor Smitty out there to go out to get ragdolled by Wilson? Like you had nobody there to be able to protect the players? This guy's paying guys like Panarin and those guys millions of dollars, right? He's an owner that's paying Panarin $11 million. And my $11 million player, who's paid to score goals, feels the need to jump on a gorilla's back to protect his players? Are you kidding me? Why would he feel the need to do that? Because they had nobody there to do anything about it. Like, it was pretty brave for Panarin to do what he did. And then for the Rangers to write to the league, oh, you got to stop this nonsense. Panarin just was trying to protect his buddy and he ragdolled him, blah, blah, blah. Like, what a embarrassment. Embarrassment. If I was the owner and they told, I might fire them too. Are you freaking kidding me? This is hockey. Shut up. You tell them the principle. Like, ridiculous. That was the most ridiculous thing in the world. I respect Davidson for a lot of things, but it's guys like Davidson, they're trying to turn this league into like a I don't know, like a puppet show. I think Lafreniere is going to rock next year. The second half last year, Lafreniere was looking really good. I think Lafreniere is going to absolutely rock next year. I really do. Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of respect for Panarin, but I don't want my 11 million guy doing that. And what the Rangers did is basically said that we don't want, Wilson tactics should not be in the league anymore. That's what they were trying to say. So when he rabbit punches Buchnevich down on the ground, which honestly, I've had harder punches by my grandma, he was just being a bully, which is part of the NHL. If he rabbit punches guys down on the bottom like that, yeah, he's going to take a kick, and he's got to know that he's going to take a kick, and he's going to tick people off. I mean, if Reaves is out there, he's going to hurt you. You're going to get hurt. He's going to want to hurt you for you doing that. Like, he's probably not doing that if Reaves is on the ice. But with the makeup of their lineup at the time, he's like, I can do this. Who's going to hurt me? And then Panarin's like, somebody's got to do something. So Panarin jumps on his back. And then everybody got all mad that Wilson turns around and freaking tunes him in because he jumped on his back. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to tune you. Yeah, that's what happens when you jump on people's backs. You think they're just going to be like, okay, you got me. No, they're going to come and beat the crap out of you. Yeah, for sure. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. It was a very brave, maybe even borderline stupid thing to do, honestly. Honestly. You're jumping on Wilson's back like that. It's brave, borderline stupid what he did. But who else was going to do it? Somebody, in Panarin's mind, somebody had to do something. So here's a European player who hasn't even been brought up in North American hockey, and he gets it enough that somebody's got to do something. And they don't have anybody to do that something. So he ends up jumping on his back. I'm sure Panarin knew it was good. I mean, maybe at the time he lost his head, and, you know, I bet you there was a time there where Panarin went, oh, what did I just do? There was a time, like, Panarin reacted and then afterwards went, oh my, what did I just do? because you know full well what Wilson's going to do. I mean, maybe in the moment you're working out of like reaction, but what I mean by that is anybody should know that if you jump on somebody's back, they're going to turn around and beat you to a pulp. I thought Wilson was actually pretty tame. He more or less just dragged him to the ground and, you know, gave him a couple shots. Like Wilson, I don't know what people understand. Wilson could have beat that boy to a freaking pulp. Wilson could have, Panarin could have been out for a couple of games there if Wilson wanted to. Like, he took it easy on him. The Rangers Caps game is going to be freaking awesome, though. Because Wilson's got to drop him now. They got to drop, you know, he's got to drop him with Reaves now. And you don't see those heavyweights going at it too much anymore like you did back in the day. So, no, they got to drop him now. Now that's not over now. He just, you beat up Smith? You think it's over? No. Now you got to go with Reaves. And I'll tell you right now, Reaves and Wilson are a little scared of that fight. Like, that's going to freaking hurt. There is more. Here's the thing, okay? I love talking about this topic, obviously. Here's the thing. When, if a player does something stupid and your fighter has to fight the other guy's fighter because of it, you are that player that did something stupid that made his enforcer have to fight. He's got to do something. He's got to give him a lot of like apology, because you're going to get hit. You're going to get hurt, man. Fighters get hurt when they fight. It hurts. Like, it's not freaking easy. And it's a little bit scary. I don't care how big you are. Especially if it's two big guys like that. Did he say that? That is freaking awesome. That's Reaves for you, though. I wouldn't doubt it. I didn't see that quote. If he said that, that's awesome, but I didn't see it here. Oh, okay. You're saying that he says that. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and the guy can play too. He's going to hit. He's going to cause a lot of problems on the ice. He does a lot of things. Like, he's not bad on the ice. He's not a bad player. As he gets older, he's not as effective as he once was. But he's not as effective as he once was, but he still can play. And I would love to have him on my team. It goes to show you, like, he's a third-round pick is a lot to give up for a guy like that. So, foreverblueshirts.com. The Rangers are working on a Reaves extension already. Georgiev's agent denies trade request. Okay. Okay, the Rangers, he said, I'm the solution to your Wilson problem. Once said that. Reportedly said that to a team. Okay, so it's reported somewhere that he said that to a team. That's a very Reaves thing to say. You know what my favorite thing about Reaves was? Do you remember when Kane got pushed down by a referee? The referee took him and he pushed him down. Do you remember that in San Jose? I'm gonna. Do you remember that? Kane got pushed or got knocked down by a ref, and Kane was saying that there was some sort of racism involved or something like that. He was pulling the racism card or something. Anyways, they did an interview with Reaves. I wish there was more people in here because this is great. This is like the best. They did an interview with Reaves, and he said, they asked him about it. They said, what do you think about Kane and his racist comments about saying that, he was kind of saying that if he was white, there would have been more to it or something like that. And he didn't even let the interviewer finish, Reaves. Reaves didn't even let the interviewer finish, and he said, no, that's not the problem. The problem is Kane's weak. That's the problem. The problem is he's weak. Look at it. Was a referee can push you around, knock you to the ice? That has nothing to do with racism. You're weak. That's the problem. I freaking love that, man. That was one of the best quotes ever. Reaves is like a quote machine, man. He's weak. And they had a feud going on back and forth forever. Like, Reaves knows exactly what to say. Reaves is also one of the most he follows the rules. Like, he doesn't play dirty. He's probably the cleanest heavyweights we've seen in a very long time. I freaking love Reaves. He's up there with some of my favorites ever. No doubt about it. He's up there with Barnaby, Probert, all those guys. Especially when you consider he's in a league now where, a lot of those guys that played, Barnaby is not, but a lot of the guys that did his role back then couldn't play now. Like, the fact that he can even play now is pretty impressive. And he put up some goals. He put up some all right points, but he was able to keep up in this league. In this league, you can't just be a goon. You got to be able to play. And there's not too many guys that can drop him and still play in this league. He certainly is one of them. Him and Simpson. Try to think of some other guys. Like, there's not too many guys. Lucic even. Like, even though he's barely there, Lucic still was able to play in this league and be able to drop him the way he was. He was a freak of nature. He shouldn't have got that huge contract, but Kane is insufferable, yeah. Apparently, they were wanting to get rid of him in San Jose too, but I only heard that that's really just a rumor. it's not really true, but I think, yeah. So Rangers give up a third. I've heard a lot of like analytics people think it's terrible. It's an absolutely terrible move, but I think it was a good move. I like the direction the Rangers went there. They got guys that can play and can bring some pain. You look at what Montreal was. You look at what Tampa Bay did. They had guys like Gaudreau and Coleman. What people that say, okay, Gaudreau's not worth $3.5 million when you're in a cap world. I had this discussion with some Rangers fans. Do you not realize that Tampa Bay wasn't able to win a cup until they got Gaudreau and Coleman? They lost in the first round of the Columbus Blue Jackets. They get Gaudreau and Maroon and Coleman, and now they're a team. Do you want to be that team that doesn't have the competitive physical edge needed to win in the playoffs? Because that's what the Rangers would have been. So they went and got the guys you need to win in the playoffs. As simple as that. Oh, wow. I mean, heavyweights. It's so hard to find a heavyweight now that I think there might only be 5 or 6 heavyweights in the league. Like a lot of guys that scrap end up scrapping. They're not heavyweights. It's like they're medium lightweights that scrap with each other. Guys like Reaves and that, they usually don't have to drop them all that much because nobody wants to fight them, right? But I'll take a look here. I'll see what I can find. Top 5 or 6 heavyweights. I haven't actually thought about it. Bill, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for coming in, man. We're talking about the top 5 or 6 heavyweights in the league. We're going on a lot about the Reaves trade for the Rangers. And I like the trade, personally. I like what they did there in New York. No, it doesn't matter. Defensemen will be easier to find, probably, yeah. I guess you could call Chara, but I mean he drops him so few times. Like who? But you still got to consider him a heavyweight if he ever decided to. I suppose Chara would have to be there. Lemieux, who's now in Los Angeles. Alexiak, yeah, but how often does he actually drop them? Yeah, but then again, who wants to drop him? Char's 44, though. Yeah, I know. Man, that's a tough question. How about Radko Gudas? Radko Gudas. That would be your classic. He'll drop him. He's only 6 feet, but he'll drop him. He's tough as nails. Maybe him. He's not even that big. I just noticed that. He's only 6 feet. I didn't know that. Wow. I thought he was way more than that. That guy's freaking tough. If you can play at 6 feet the way he plays, you're pretty damn tough. I'm trying to think of some players. Forbert, Derek Forbert in Boston. Again, that's a defenseman. McDermott. So wait, that's 3. We'll see if he gets a regular shift. We're trying to find guys that really play a regular shift. So far, McDermott hasn't. I don't think you're going to find any in Toronto. Oh, Simmons. Simmons is still playing in Toronto, so you got to put him there. But yeah, they're getting. Oh, what's his name? Dylan Gambrell. And he's only 6 feet too. But Dylan will drop him with anybody. He's not really a heavyweight though. You're talking about an actual heavyweight. Like Dillingham, like like I said, a lot of these guys are willing, but I don't know if I would call them a heavyweight. McDermott, yeah. Moran, yeah. Moran. How many fights has he had, though? Moran. He will drop him, though. You got to get... Cassian. You got to give Cassian. Cassian would be your classic heavyweight now, I would say. Zach Cassian in Edmonton. I'd have to put him there in the top 5 for sure. He hurt his hand last year. You know what? You don't even think about it, but because they can score so much. But either one of the Kachuk brothers. I put the Kachuk brothers as 1-2 because they can play. And they're both willing to fight. Matthew and Brady Kachuk. I think Brady Kachuk would fight Wilson. Russ Johnston. Lemieux, yeah. Russ Johnson, Lemieux, Cassian. Probably not, John. I don't know. I was looking at it. You say they're not. I say they're not a playoff team next year, but you're gonna have a full season of Suzuki, Caulfield, and I mean that line's gonna be pretty sick, for sure. But I think the loss of Dano could hurt them a lot. I think the loss of Dano could hurt them a lot, but that top line could make up for it. So I don't think they're out of it. Clutterbuck, he's not really big, but Martin, Clutterbuck, all of those guys. I don't know if Martin and Clutterbuck would go up against Wilson, though. I mean, I guess they would if they absolutely had to, sort of like Smith had to. But in a perfect world, that's not the, I don't think either one of... I think Cassian would go up against Wilson. Johnson would go up against Wilson. Lemieux would go up against Wilson. He's a little nutty in the head. Perry wants a cup, all right. I love that Perry went to the enemy right away. You saw Weber injured. They don't sign Deno. And it's like, yeah, I'm out of here. It's going to depend on, I think a lot is going to depend on Drouin, if he can come back and play. But, I mean, that's asking a lot. I would think that the St. Louis Blues would have somebody there that could do that. Kyle Clifford's not big enough. Probably Parayko could go. They just don't want him to. Parayko in St. Louis. He's a heavyweight that could drop him with just about anybody. Ovechkin could if they wanted him to, but they don't want him to. And they got Wilson there, so he doesn't have to. But Ovechkin certainly can, that's for sure. So that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anybody else out there. Yeah, he doesn't drop them very much anymore. I don't think he's ever really dropped them all that much in his career, has he? What the heck? Oh my gosh, Paul Byron now is going to undergo hip surgery. Paul Byron is, I don't know, he's had so many surgeries. His career is almost over. That's another player gone from Montreal, Paul Byron. Yeah, well, that's been, I mean, everybody loves that. They'd never do it. But it would be about as effective, really, as what they do. Like, I'm not a big shootout fan. But you might as well do that because it's the same as a shootout. I think shootout to me is, I don't know. Everybody, I don't want to crap on the shootout because a lot of people like it. And if they like it and it brings people to the NHL and they enjoy it, then great, I guess. But I'd rather see a scrap. Yeah, it would never happen, but it would be pretty cool. That would bring back the goon again. A guy doesn't even play the whole game and he just comes out and scraps with somebody. That would bring back the goon again. We'll never see the goon days ever again, though. That'll be it. It was almost like a comics. It was almost like, comics. To have your goon, like, it was almost like comic characters. Wheeler's big, but he doesn't drop them. There's Stanley. Stanley is going to be up there with those guys. Isn't he like 6'7" or something like that? And he'll drop them. Forgot about Stanley in Winnipeg. He's one of those he's like an old school soul, that guy. He can. It looks like they're going to play him in the 5-6 spot this year. They drafted him late in the first round. And he's actually progressed a lot faster than they thought he would. I just did a video of like 22 teams. It was about 45 minutes long and 22 teams, but you can check out whatever team you want. I'm going to write it down. I got to work on it tonight. I'm going to write down in the comment section each team and how they did it and free agency. I graded them all. That's what I should have did. I should have did the grades thing with you guys. Who do you think won free agency? A lot of people are saying Boston. I think it might have been New Jersey. Yeah, I know a lot of Buffalo fans don't think he should have got $5 million a year, but I think they may be surprised. I don't think you're really watching your own goaltender. Buffalo had a chance when he was in. As soon as he was out, they didn't have a chance to win hardly at all. Yeah, he should be better in Boston for sure with that defensive system. I mean, he wasn't bad. He's just his numbers will look better for sure. You got Boston? I like Boston, but if they can't sign Krejci, I don't like it as much. I like New Jersey getting Hamilton, and I'm including up to the draft too. So like Graves, getting Hamilton, losing Butcher. Like, they traded away Butcher. They actually found Buffalo took Butcher. What the heck is that? Butcher is, I don't know. Butcher is a hot mess of a defenseman. Like, that was a great move. But Boston, if you say Boston, I get it. It'd be like one of either team. I'm almost wanting to put the Rangers there now too. The Rangers third. He announced it. He's not coming back. Okay. Well, in that case, they probably already knew he wasn't coming back. So getting Foligno means that I still don't think he's your answer. He's not really a second-line center. And you certainly can't play Charlie Coyle up there. My gosh, that would be terrible. TSN posted it? Wow. That's rough. That's rough for Boston. No, the Island. Oh, hey, Eric Douglas. How you doing, buddy? The Islanders have not signed Parise yet. Nobody's signed Parise yet. Yeah, what were they offering? What were they offering on that deal? I heard it was Kokaniemi, Romanov, and a first or something like that. They're going to have to give up more than that, I think. What was the offer? Hey, Hockey News Reports. Welcome in, buddy. Oh, you saw it this morning. Okay. I guess I could look it up. It's on a video. I can't see it. It's in a video, so I can't see what it was, but Detroit Red Wings will be a little bit better. Stevie Y's being so patient with that team. I think they got Murray. They got Murray for $800,000. That was a nice pickup. Nedeljkovic, I don't think that makes them better with Bernier. It all depends on how those their young guys progress. How's Zadina going to be next year? Does he take the next step? It's hard to say. What they should start getting a little better, but their defense still isn't that great. Yeah, it was probably just nothing. Yeah. Like in the movie Goon, yeah. Said it was a low ball the threshold. Yeah, it didn't surprise me. Bergevin's gonna do everything, try everything he can. So look what he did for Aho. Like there was no way Carolina was not gonna sign that. But I also think that sometimes, like Bergevin, actually, if you look, he's like a mad genius. One of the reasons why he would go there is just basically to find out if Eichel would even go to Montreal. Like he also gets information about where he's at and stuff like that. Same as the Aho deal. Like think about it with Aho. Aho is going to have another contract before this one. He's going to become a free agent. And when he becomes a free agent, don't you think that he might think, hey, you know what? Montreal did me a solid and I made like a couple extra million a year for the last however long. Maybe it would be a good idea to go there and they'll take care of me. You know, they were willing to take care of me then. Because one of the reasons why people don't go to Montreal is their tax structure, right? So you have to pay a lot of taxes. So Bergevin, when Aho becomes a free agent again, he can call him up in his agent and say, look, you guys can't complain about taxes. I gave you an extra $2 million a year or $1.5 million a year. You know, you paid the taxes you're going to get here all day if it wasn't for me. So why don't you come over here for 11 million? Yeah, you got to pay high taxes, but I did something to already pay your taxes. I would not be surprised. Like, that's a smart move. That would be a very smart move. I don't know if their defense, is their defense worse? I'm not a big Bogosian fan, so they're definitely not better. Sandin gets better and they could be better. But yeah, that's the way Bergeron works. Like he looks like he's working on things way ahead of schedule. Who would have thought? Like he traded or Max Domi. I always call him by his father's name. They traded Max Domi to Columbus, and so far he's won that trade. Like Max Domi is just a hot mess. I don't know what kind of an attitude is this guy. I don't know, man. He's really immature or whatever it is, but everywhere he goes, he annoys people like instantly. Instantly. So, okay, I'm going to see if that's up here now. Sit on Hockey Rumors. They announced it. They still don't have it on Hockey Rumors. That's weird. Oh, Colorado signed Tyson Jost. Two-year, $2 million deal for Tyson Jost. Oh, maybe they don't. I think Barkov's going to sign in Florida. After everything that they've done in Florida now, I think Barkov signs in Florida. They've built that team. Like, it's got to be exciting to be a Florida Panther right now, the way they built that team. I think he takes a bit less and stays in Florida. He's been there his whole life. He's got a family. You know, I just, unless they really lowball him, and I doubt that they'll do that. I think he stays in Florida. I don't know if Rasmus Sandin needs more time in the AHL now. He should be getting pretty close. Like, he seems very inconsistent right now. He may be. I think on most teams he would still be playing in the AHL, but I think Toronto's, and this is a dangerous thing to be doing, is crossing their fingers and hoping he's going to be ready. And I say that's dangerous because you can use a guy when you shouldn't be using him by doing that. So, Colin Miller's okay. He's okay. He's not bad. He's not good. He's not bad. He's just average. He's the kind of guy that's going to bounce around the league quite a bit. In Buffalo, he's going to look really bad. Unless, I say that, but I also really liked what Granato did at the second half last year and how that team looked. So I think Buffalo could surprise a little bit. Well, we'll see. He did. I think he's just planting. He just planted the seed, though. If there was any thought in Aho's mind to not, it may not have anything to do with what they want to offer. And Bergevin has made it quite clear that if they let Aho go back on the market, if they let him test the waters, he's going to give him a lot. So they better sign him up early. Personally, if it would have been me, I would have been giving Aho $10 million for 8 years then. Instead of giving 8 years, what was it, 5 years for $8 million or something like that? I would have given him 10 right then. Here's 8 years, $10 million right then. Why wouldn't they? I don't know. Now he's going to come up. He's going to be asking for, he won a Selke now. He's an over a point a game player. What's he going to give now? 12, 13? 12 million probably? No. It wouldn't be good for Toronto, that's for sure, if Sandin doesn't make it next year. That roster is very cloudy. I don't know who that I honestly, I'm not sure about Koivunen. I know they got Suzuki penciled in next year. I think that's a little premature. At least they do on cap friendly anyways. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Koivunen. Okay, Ville Koivunen. Oh, he's not going to play next year. Are you kidding me? He picked him up. They picked him up this year in the second round. He's not going to play next year. Not likely. What do you get? 49 points for Karpat, under 20. He hasn't played against men yet. 10 points in 7 games. How big is he? 5'11", 180. He could, I suppose, but it wouldn't be a normal trajectory for him to. I have no idea. He's such a small guy, Nick Robertson. He's got the skill. Has he got himself big enough yet? I'm not sure. They have to hope he is. That's right. Yeah, eventually he could look good. Koivunen, yeah. Jarvis will be up there faster than Koivunen. Jarvis could be ready quite soon. Anyways, I guess I gotta go. I could do this like for hours, man. Tell all your friends. Head over to Steel Flyers All Sports Network, www.steelflyers.com. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt if he plays this year, at least a little bit, but he's pretty solid. That's my full 42, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I'll see you Monday. Yeah, Monday at keep a watch on my videos. I'm going to put in the comment section when I'm going to go out on Monday, because I could be evening, it could be day. I'm not sure yet. It's a long weekend here in Canada, so. But until then, have a great weekend, everybody. Awesome talking to y'all. Take care. Okay, bye.